On a chilly autumn evening in the small coastal town of Seabrook, Cole Maddox sat alone on the worn wooden porch of his modest beach house. The salty breeze carried the distant cries of seagulls and the rhythmic crashing of waves against the rocky shore. After years of relentless service as a Navy SEAL, Cole had sought refuge in this quiet place, hoping to leave behind the chaos of his past. The town's sleepy charm offered him peace, a sanctuary where the only battles he faced were against the rising tides and his own restless mind. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to like and subscribe. And I want to know, have you ever witnessed something that changed your perspective on loyalty and courage? Where were you when it happened? The soft glow of his phone screen punctuated the dusk as he idly scrolled through social media, a habit he rarely indulged. His thumb paused on a video thumbnail that seemed out of place among the usual vacation snapshots and local news updates. Curiosity nudged him to tap it, and the screen flickered to life, plunging him into a world he never expected to confront. The video was grainy, shot in a dimly lit warehouse, but the images were unmistakable. His dog, Ranger, a fierce and loyal German shepherd who had been his companion through the darkest and brightest days of his life, was caught in the center of a brutal and illegal dogfighting ring. Ranger's powerful frame was trapped behind a chain-link fence, his eyes wide with fear and confusion as snarling dogs circled, their handlers shouting commands laced with cruelty. The raw, unfiltered violence of the scene was a slap to Cole's gut, a stark contrast to the peaceful life he had painstakingly built. Shock rippled through him, quickly replaced by a surge of anger and helplessness. How had Ranger ended up here? Who could have done this to his dog? The peaceful coastal life he cherished shattered in an instant, replaced by a cold resolve that simmered beneath his skin. This was no longer just about survival. It was about justice, about protecting the one creature who had never let him down. The video looped again, each replay etching the haunting images deeper into his mind. The camera panned to reveal a crude sign scrawled on the wall: "No mercy, no witnesses." The chilling message underscored the merciless nature of the underground world he now faced. It was a stark reminder that beneath Seabrook's idyllic facade lurked a dark, hidden brutality, one that preyed on the innocent and thrived in the shadows. Cole's gaze drifted from the screen to the horizon, where the sun dipped below the waterline, bleeding shades of orange and crimson into the sky. The peaceful scene mocked the turmoil inside him. His fingers curled into fists, knuckles white with tension. He knew that stepping back into the fray meant risking everything he had fought to protect. But the thought of leaving Ranger to suffer was unbearable. The dog had been more than a pet. Ranger was family. From the moment Cole had found him as a pup, abandoned and shivering by a roadside, the bond had been unbreakable. Through grueling training sessions, long patrols, and quiet nights alone, Ranger had been a constant source of strength and companionship. Now, that bond was the spark igniting a fire he couldn't ignore. As the evening deepened into night, the quiet town of Seabrook seemed oblivious to the war that had just begun in Cole's heart. Streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows over empty sidewalks. Inside his home, the worn leather of his favorite armchair creaked as he leaned forward, determination steadying his breath. He knew this was only the beginning, a descent into a hidden world of cruelty and danger that threatened more than just his dog. With Ranger's fate hanging in the balance, Cole's calm coastal life stood on the edge of irrevocable change. The video was a summons he couldn't refuse, a call to arms that stirred memories of battles fought and won. But this fight was different. It was personal, and it was far from over. The morning sun rose over Seabrook, casting a pale light across the quiet streets, but inside Cole Maddox's beach house, the air was thick with urgency. The video of Ranger trapped in the dogfighting ring played over and over in his mind, fueling a restless energy he couldn't shake. He paced the small living room, the worn floorboards creaking beneath his boots, his military training kicking in as he mapped out his next move. Cole's fingers hovered over his phone, hesitating before he finally dialed a number he hadn't called in years. The line rang twice before a familiar voice answered, sharp and steady. "Mia Torres." "Mia, it's Cole," he said, his voice low but firm. "I need your help." Mia Torres was an investigative journalist known for her relentless pursuit of the truth, especially when it came to exposing illegal activities in the region. Their paths had crossed years ago during a story that had ended with more questions than answers. But Cole trusted her expertise and her courage. If anyone could help him navigate the shadowy underworld of dogfighting rings, it was her. "I heard about what you're dealing with," Mia said after a brief pause, her tone serious. "I've been following some leads on illegal dogfighting operations around here. It's worse than most people realize. These rings are organized, violent, and they protect their secrets fiercely." "That's exactly what I'm afraid of," Cole admitted. "Ranger's caught up in it. I've got to find him and shut this down." Mia's voice softened, tinged with sympathy. "We'll figure this out together. These people don't just hurt dogs, they destroy lives. I've seen it firsthand in other towns. But if we're going to do this, we need to be careful. They're dangerous." Their conversation stretched into the afternoon, filled with plans and warnings. Cole shared what little he knew, while Mia revealed snippets of her ongoing investigation. Names of suspected handlers, locations of underground fights, and the tangled web of criminals involved. Every detail deepened the picture of a brutal, hidden world thriving beneath the surface of their peaceful town. What struck Cole most was the complexity of the operation. This wasn't just a few reckless individuals. It was a well-oiled machine that trafficked dogs, pitted them against each other for profit, and silenced anyone who dared to interfere. The cruelty was systemic, and the stakes were higher than he'd imagined. As they spoke, Cole's mind drifted to Ranger, the dog who had stood by him through every hardship, whose unwavering loyalty had been a beacon in dark times. The thought of Ranger confined in a cage, forced to fight for survival, ignited a fierce protective instinct that only grew stronger with each passing minute. "You remember Ranger?" Cole said quietly, as if sharing a sacred secret. "He's more than a dog to me. He saved my life more times than I can count. I can't lose him to this." Mia's response was immediate and resolute. "Then we'll get him back. But first, we need more information. I've got sources who might help pinpoint where Ranger is being held. We need to move fast." The hours slipped by as they worked together, piecing together the puzzle from fragments of intelligence and rumors. Cole's military discipline meshed seamlessly with Mia's investigative tenacity. They made a formidable pair, one driven by loyalty and muscle, the other by wit and determination. Outside, the coastal winds picked up, rattling the window panes and carrying the salt-tinged scent of the ocean. Inside, the warmth of shared purpose filled the room, pushing back the shadows of doubt and fear. Cole's resolve hardened with every new detail. He knew the path ahead would be perilous, a descent into a treacherous world where trust was scarce and danger lurked in every corner. But the bond he shared with Ranger was his anchor, his reason to fight. As the day faded into evening, Cole stood by the window, gazing out at the darkening horizon. The peaceful town he had chosen for solace was now a battleground, and he was no longer just a man seeking peace. He was a protector, a warrior ready to confront the cruelty that threatened the innocent. Mia's call came just as the first stars began to twinkle in the sky. "I've got a lead," she said, breathless. "A contact near the docks mentioned a recent shipment of fighting dogs. Could be Ranger's location." Cole's heart pounded with cautious hope. "Tell me everything." They spent the next hour planning, their voices hushed but urgent. The investigation was gaining momentum, and with each step, Cole felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. This was no longer a mission. It was a personal crusade, fueled by love, loyalty, and a relentless desire to bring justice to those who couldn't fight for themselves. That night, as Cole prepared for what lay ahead, he couldn't shake the image of Ranger's eyes, filled with fear, but still holding a glimmer of trust. It was a reminder that even in the darkest places, hope endured. And Cole Maddox was determined to be the light that would guide them both out of the shadows. The morning fog hung low over the Seabrook docks, curling around the stacks of shipping containers like ghostly fingers. The air was thick with the scent of salt and diesel, mingled with something darker, an undercurrent of menace that Cole Maddox felt settle deep in his bones. This was no ordinary daybreak. It was the front line of a battle he hadn't chosen, but could no longer avoid. After his call with Mia, Cole had spent the night scouring every lead, every whispered rumor about the dogfighting ring. Mia's contact at the docks had provided a crucial piece of intelligence. A recent shipment of dogs had arrived late last night, likely destined for the underground circuit. Ranger had to be among them. But the deeper they dug, the clearer it became that this was no small-time operation. The ring was run by a ruthless crime syndicate, one that operated like a shadow government within Seabrook's underbelly. At the center of it all was a figure known only as the Handler, a name whispered in fear and reverence. The mastermind who orchestrated the fights and controlled the flow of money, animals, and violence. Cole and Mia met in a quiet cafe near the waterfront, the hum of early patrons fading into the background as they leaned over steaming cups of coffee. Mia's eyes were sharp, her voice low but urgent. "The Handler doesn't just run fights," she said, tapping her tablet to reveal encrypted messages and photos she'd pieced together. "They have connections. Local officials, corrupt cops, even some businessmen who turn a blind eye. It's a network built on fear and power." Cole nodded, absorbing the weight of the revelation. His military experience told him this meant danger at every turn. The syndicate's reach could choke off any attempt to intervene, turning what should be a rescue mission into a deadly trap. "We're going to have to be smart about this," Cole said. "No head-on assaults. We need eyes inside, people we can trust, or at least manipulate." Mia pulled up a list of names, some familiar, others new. "These are lower-level members, handlers, trainers, even some of the muscle. If we can get close to them, gain their trust, we might find a way in without raising alarms." Cole's mind raced through the possibilities. His military training equipped him for infiltration and covert operations. Mia's journalistic instincts gave her a knack for reading people and uncovering hidden truths. Together, they were a force, but the stakes were higher than ever. "We'll need cover stories, equipment, and a way to communicate securely," Cole said. "I can handle the tactical side. You handle the intel and contacts." They spent hours coordinating, crafting personas that could slip through the cracks of the syndicate's defenses. Cole rehearsed the lines he would use to introduce himself as an outsider looking to get involved. A mercenary, perhaps, or a gambler with cash to burn. Mia reached out to her sources to gather as much information as possible about the syndicate's operations and routines. As they planned, The emotional weight of the mission pressed down on Cole. Every detail, every risk was tied to Ranger, his loyal companion caught in a nightmare that no dog should endure. The thought of Ranger's scared eyes haunted him, fueling a fierce determination to succeed. "We have to be ready for anything," Mia said, her tone steady but grim. "These people won't hesitate to use violence to protect their secrets. If they suspect us, it's over." Cole clenched his jaw. "I'm not going to let that happen. Ranger's counting on me." The next days were a whirlwind of preparation. Cole trained relentlessly, running through scenarios in the shadowed confines of his garage, honing his reflexes and testing the gear they would need. Mia continued to dig deeper into the syndicate's hierarchy, uncovering patterns in their movements and identifying potential weak points. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia brought news that sent a chill through Cole's veins. "There's a fight scheduled next weekend," she said. "A big event. If we can get in, that's where we'll find Ranger, and plenty of other dogs trapped in this hell." The plan was risky. The event was heavily guarded, with security designed to keep outsiders and law enforcement at bay. But it was also an opportunity, a chance to strike at the heart of the operation. Cole's mind flashed back to his years in the military, to missions where failure meant death. But this was different. This was personal. The stakes were not just his own survival, but the lives of countless innocent animals. "We need to get inside, gather evidence, and find a way to free them," Cole said, his voice resolute. "And we need to do it before anyone realizes we're there." Mia nodded, her eyes reflecting the same fierce determination. "We'll need to move fast, and we'll need help." As they finalized their plan, Cole's thoughts drifted once more to Ranger, the dog who had been his guardian and friend. The bond they shared was unbreakable, forged through years of trust and loyalty. That bond was his weapon now, a source of strength that no enemy could take away. The day of the event loomed, and with it, the tension in Seabrook grew palpable. Whispers of unusual activity circulated among locals, but no one could have guessed the storm gathering beneath the surface. Cole and Mia prepared to step into a world where loyalty was tested, danger was constant, and the line between hunter and hunted blurred. Every move they made would be a gamble, every moment a test of skill and courage. And as the shadows lengthened over the town, one truth remained clear. This fight would not be won with brute force alone. It would require precision, trust, and an unyielding will to protect the voiceless. In the heart of darkness, Cole Maddox readied himself to become the unexpected hero Ranger needed, willing to risk everything to bring light to a place where mercy was a forgotten word. The underground arena was a cavernous space carved beneath the city's industrial district, its walls stained with years of grime and cruelty. Flickering overhead lights cast harsh shadows across the chain-link cages, where the dogs paced restlessly, their eyes reflecting a mixture of fear, exhaustion, and unbroken spirit. The air was heavy with the scent of sweat, blood, and desperation, a brutal testament to the world that Cole Maddox was about to infiltrate. The night of the fight arrived with a tense stillness that belied the violence waiting to erupt. Cole, dressed to blend into the crowd of spectators and gamblers, moved with practiced stealth, his eyes scanning the faces around him. Beside him, Mia adjusted the small camera concealed beneath her jacket, ready to stream the event live. This was their chance, not just to rescue Ranger, but to expose the entire operation to the world. Inside one of the cages, Cole caught sight of a familiar figure, Ranger. The dog's powerful frame was tense, muscles coiled like springs, eyes locked on the snarling opponent across the ring. Despite the harsh conditions, Ranger's spirit shone through, a fierce determination that mirrored Cole's own resolve. The crowd's roars surged as the fight began, the dogs lunging and dodging with brutal agility. Cole's heart pounded in time with the chaos, every instinct honed by years of training, screaming at him to act. But he knew they had to be precise. One wrong move could cost them everything. Mia's camera captured it all. The snarls, the strikes, the desperate struggle for survival. The live stream was already reaching thousands, a beacon of truth piercing the darkness of the underground ring. As the fight reached its climax, Cole spotted his moment. With the crowd's attention fixated on the brutal spectacle, he slipped through a narrow side passage, moving swiftly toward the holding pens. The sounds of the fight faded behind him, replaced by the low whimpers and frantic barking of trapped dogs. Ranger's cage was near the back, its rusted bars cold beneath Cole's hands as he worked quickly to unlock it. The dog's eyes met his, a flicker of recognition sparking through the fear. Without hesitation, Ranger leapt into Cole's arms, the bond between them a lifeline in the chaos. But their escape would not be so simple. A shout rang out, sharp and angry. "Intruder!" The crowd's roar turned, to confusion and then to alarm as security guards surged toward the breach. Cole's pulse quickened as he grabbed Ranger, weaving through the maze of cages, freeing other dogs where he could. Each unlocked door released a new wave of hope and a new threat. Mia's voice crackled through their earpieces. "They're onto us. Security's tightening. You need to move, Cole." Adrenaline surged as Cole led the frightened animals toward a side exit he'd spotted earlier. The handlers and guards closed in, their faces twisted with rage and desperation. This was no longer just a rescue. It was a fight for survival. In the frenzy, the handler appeared, a tall, imposing figure whose cold eyes scanned the chaos like a predator assessing prey. Cole's gaze locked with his, the unspoken challenge passing between them. The handler turned and fled, melting into the shadows, but Cole was not about to let him escape. With Ranger by his side, Cole sprinted after the man, the sounds of barking dogs and shouting guards echoing behind him. The narrow alleyways of Seabrook's industrial district blurred past as the chase intensified. Finally, Cole cornered the handler against a chain-link fence, the man's smug expression fading into something harder, more calculating. "You don't know what you're up against," the handler sneered, reaching for a concealed weapon. Cole reacted instantly, disarming him with a precise strike honed by years of combat. The fight was brief but fierce, a clash of wills as much as of fists. In the end, Cole's strength and training prevailed, leaving the handler incapacitated on the cold pavement. Mia's live stream captured the entire confrontation, broadcasting the raw truth to an audience that was already swelling with outrage. The video spread like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of public anger and demands for justice. As federal agents and local police swarmed the scene, the underground ring's grip began to crumble. The freed dogs, including Ranger, were rushed to awaiting veterinarians and animal welfare volunteers, their battered bodies beginning the slow process of healing. Cole knelt beside Ranger, running gentle fingers through the dog's matted fur. Despite the scars, both physical and emotional, the dog's eyes held a spark of resilience, a reflection of the bond that had carried them through the darkness. Mia joined him, her face illuminated by the glow of her phone screen displaying the viral video. "We did it, Cole. This is bigger than just one rescue. It's a movement now." Cole nodded, the weight of the night's events settling over him. The fight was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, there was hope. Not just for Ranger, but for all the voiceless caught in the shadows. Together, they stood amidst the chaos and the triumph, knowing that their battle had struck a blow against cruelty and injustice. The path ahead would be difficult, but the courage and determination they shared would guide them through whatever came next. The days following the raid on the underground dogfighting ring were a whirlwind of activity and emotions in Seabrook. The once hidden cruelty exposed by Mia's viral livestream had ignited a firestorm of outrage that rippled through the community, forcing authorities to act swiftly and decisively. The syndicate that had operated in shadows was unraveling under the weight of public scrutiny and legal pressure. Law enforcement agencies, bolstered by the evidence collected during the raid, moved quickly to dismantle the network. Federal agents coordinated with local police to execute a series of raids targeting the remaining members of the ring and their enablers. Arrests were made, assets seized, and the machinery of the cruel enterprise ground to a halt. Amid the flurry of legal action, Ranger was the center of a different kind of battle, one for healing and recovery. The dog, once hardened by years of forced fighting and neglect, was now surrounded by a team of veterinary specialists and animal care volunteers dedicated to nursing him back to health. The wounds on his body, both seen and unseen, were tended with gentle hands and unwavering patience. Cole spent long hours by Ranger's side, offering comfort and reassurance as the dog slowly regained strength. The bond between them, forged through countless trials, was a source of solace and hope. Ranger's progress was a testament to resilience and the power of love to mend even the deepest scars. Mia's expose, published in a leading regional newspaper, detailed the harrowing story of the dogfighting ring. From its brutal operations to the web of corruption that had allowed it to thrive. The article struck a chord with readers, stirring widespread empathy and a call to action. Donations poured in to support animal welfare organizations, and community members rallied around the cause, determined to prevent such horrors from recurring. As the town united, Cole and Mia found their partnership deepening beyond the mission that had brought them together. Their shared commitment to justice and compassion forged a bond of trust and camaraderie, each drawing strength from the other's resolve. The increased awareness sparked by the viral video and expose led to tangible change. Local authorities implemented stricter enforcement measures against illegal animal fighting, and lawmakers began drafting legislation aimed at closing loopholes and increasing penalties for offenders. The community's vigilance grew, transforming Seabrook into a place where the voices of the voiceless found champions. Despite the victories, Cole remained vigilant. He understood that the fight against cruelty was ongoing, and that complacency could allow darkness to creep back in. Yet, he also recognized the significance of the progress made. A beacon of hope in a landscape once overshadowed by fear. One afternoon, as the sun warmed the porch of Cole's beach house, he sat with Ranger resting peacefully at his feet. The dog's once vacant eyes now sparkled with life, a reflection of the healing journey they had undertaken together. Cole's thoughts wandered to the path ahead, aware that their story was but one chapter in a larger battle for compassion and justice. Mia joined him, a smile touching her lips as she shared updates on the ongoing investigations and community initiatives. Their conversation was filled with plans and possibilities, a testament to their shared dedication. In the quiet moments, Cole reflected on how his military training and unwavering love for Ranger had sparked a movement that extended far beyond their personal ordeal. The courage to confront darkness, to stand against cruelty, had inspired a community to rise and protect its most vulnerable. As the waves rolled gently against the shore, Seabrook began to heal. The scars left by the dogfighting ring were deep, but the spirit of its residents was stronger. Cole, Mia, and Ranger stood at the forefront of a renewed commitment to justice and kindness, their journey a beacon of resilience. Together, they had transformed pain into purpose, forging a future where hope prevailed and compassion was a guiding light. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the tranquil waves lapping softly against the shore of Seabrook. On the weathered wooden dock, Cole Maddox sat quietly, Ranger nestled comfortably at his feet, the dogs breathing deep and even in the calm of the early day. The peaceful scene was a stark contrast to the storm they had weathered together, a journey from despair into a fragile, hard-won hope. Cole's gaze stretched across the horizon, where the vast ocean met the sky in a seamless blue embrace. The gentle breeze carried the familiar scent of salt and seaweed, grounding him in the present while memories of the past swirled beneath the surface. He thought of the darkness they had faced, the hidden cruelty of the dog-fighting ring, the danger that had threatened not just Ranger's life, but the lives of countless innocent animals. Yet, here in this quiet moment, that darkness felt distant, replaced by the light of resilience and renewal. Ranger's recovery had been slow but steady, each day a testament to the healing power of love and care. The bond between man and dog, once forged in the harshest trials, now radiated with a quiet strength. Cole reflected on the journey that had transformed them both. His military skills, once honed for battlefields far from home, had become instruments of justice and protection in a fight that transcended violence, a fight for the voiceless. The courage to act, fueled by unwavering loyalty, had sparked a movement that rippled through their community and beyond. Nearby, the sound of footsteps approached, and Mia Torres came into view, her camera bag slung over one shoulder and a notebook clutched in her hand. Her face bore the marks of long days and restless nights, but her eyes shone with purpose. She settled beside Cole, her presence a steady reminder of the partnership that had grown from a shared mission into a lasting alliance. "I just finished the final draft of the exposé," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of their shared resolve. "It's more than a story now. It's a call to action. People need to see the truth, to stand with those who can't speak for themselves." Cole nodded, grateful for her unrelenting commitment. "You've given a voice to so many," he replied. "It's changed everything." Mia smiled, a flicker of pride mingling with the exhaustion. "And it's just the beginning. There's still so much work to do." Together, they watched as Ranger lifted his head, ears perked at the distant cries of gulls and the rhythmic splash of waves against the dock. The dog's eyes, once shadowed by fear, now sparkled with life, a reflection of the journey from captivity to freedom. Cole reached down to stroke Ranger's fur, the familiar texture grounding him in the present. "You saved more than just yourself, buddy," he murmured. "You helped save all of us." The day unfolded with a gentle rhythm, the town of Seabrook slowly stirring to life around them. Stories of hope and resilience spread through the community, inspiring others to take a stand against cruelty and injustice. Local shelters saw increased support, and volunteers rallied to protect and rehabilitate animals in need. Cole and Mia continued their work, their partnership a beacon of determination and compassion. They organized outreach programs, spoke at community events, and collaborated with law enforcement to ensure that the horrors they had uncovered would never return. Their efforts ignited a spark that kindled change far beyond their small coastal town. In the quiet moments between the work, Cole found solace in the simple pleasures. A walk along the beach with Ranger, the warmth of the sun on his face, the sound of the ocean's endless song. These fragments of peace were hard-earned gifts, reminders of the strength found in perseverance. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and rose, Cole stood with Ranger by his side, looking out over the water. The past was a shadow behind them, the future a vast expanse filled with promise. He thought of the countless animals still trapped in darkness elsewhere, and of the power one person's courage held to spark a movement. The journey had shown him that even in the darkest circumstances, hope could take root and grow. With a final glance at the setting sun, Cole whispered a silent vow to continue fighting, to protect the voiceless, and to honor the bond that had saved them both. In that moment, a soldier, a journalist, and a loyal dog stood united, not just by circumstance, but by a shared belief in resilience, compassion, and the unyielding strength of hope.